Tout de suite, Charlotte revient donc pour présenter son nouvel invité, Neal Jetton.
Merci Julia et merci Erwan Roland également. We're now going to turn to a truly global perspective because the response to cybercrime can only be collective, coordinated and international indeed. Interpol plays a critical role in this effort, facilitating cooperation between countries, enabling intelligence sharing, and strengthening global capabilities to combat cyber threats. It's therefore a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Neal Jetton, who leads Interpol's Cybercrime Directorate. Neal currently leads a team based in Singapore that works closely with law enforcement. Dr. Jetton, over to you.
Thank you very much. It is a privilege and an honor to be here today. Just make sure that this thing works. Great. So, good afternoon. My name is Neal Jetton. I have the privilege of leading Interpol's Cybercrime Directorate. Just start with cybercrime is no longer a collection of isolated incidents carried out by a limited number of sophisticated actors. It has become a global, industrialized, and increasingly adaptive criminal economy, one that is evolving faster than ever, including through the use of AI. This afternoon, I would like to make 3 points. First, I will briefly outline the global cybercrime landscape and some of the threats shaping it today as we see from our member countries. Second, I will explain how Interpol is responding to those threats through intelligence sharing, operational coordination and support, capability building, and partnerships that connect law enforcement, industry, and expert communities. Third, I will highlight how this cooperation is deepening in Europe, not only through operational results, which I'll discuss, but also through the networks and platforms that help us strengthen our collective response. I will then conclude with a brief look at how Interpol is adapting to new and emerging threats through such initiatives as Project Stardust and Project Echo. So let me begin with a broader picture. So across our networks, and we have 196 countries, so it's a very wide network, we continue to see what we call the industrialization of cybercrime. Cybercrime is increasingly enabled by structured criminal services, shared infrastructure, and specialized roles that allow criminal activity to be conducted at greater speed, scale, and efficiency. We are also seeing attacks become more specific, more targeted, and more adaptive, with criminals focused on specific sectors, communities, local behaviors, and even customs. More broadly, cybercrime now operates as a global criminal economy, service-based, transnational, and scalable. That is the central challenge that we face today. Cybercrime has become its own industry. And of course, you can't walk in the vendors' booths today without discussing AI and seeing it. It's everywhere. It's not an emerging threat, it's today. Artificial intelligence is accelerating this industrialization. Its significance really lies, at least to Interpol member countries, in its ability to create criminal activity, to expand criminal activity and make it more efficient, more persuasive, and more difficult to detect. But what AI has also done, and one of the real challenges for investigators across the globe, is it has lowered the barriers to entry, allowing a wider range of actors to exploit tools that were once more difficult to access or deploy. We see this particularly in online scams, where AI can generate highly convincing phishing campaigns, support real-time impersonation, and enable the use of deepfake and voice cloning to manipulate victims with increasing sophistication. More broadly, AI allows criminal actors to operate with greater speed, flexibility, and reach. The concern, therefore, is not only that AI introduces new risks, which it does, but that it strengthens the systems and methods that already underpinned industrialized cybercrime. AI misuse is rapidly emerging as one of the most, if not the most, important challenge facing both law enforcement and wider cybersecurity community. So, to put this in a scale, in a number, we all like statistics. Global cybercrime losses are now measured in the trillions of US dollars annually. If you look at that number at the bottom, that is the global loss of cybercrime, at least according to some research in 2025. That is the world's third largest GDP, behind the US and China, and it's only supposed to grow by something like 140%, some projections, in just 2 years. The numbers are staggering. But behind these figures, it's not just financial loss. They reflect disruptions to critical infrastructure, damage to public trust, and serious human harm. We see this in ransomware attacks affecting hospitals, airports, and essential services. We see it in cyber sextortion that devastate individuals and their families. And we see it in the growing exploitation linked to scam compounds and cyber-enabled trafficking. So while cybercrime is often discussed as a technical issue, it is in reality a public safety issue, an economic issue, and a national security issue. And because these criminal networks operate across jurisdictions without borders, our response must be transnational. So how do we work? How does the Interpol Cybercrime Directorate work to combat these threats? At the Cybercrime Directorate, our response is built around 3 main pillars. First, we deliver actionable intelligence. Through our Cyber Fusion Center, which is based in Singapore, we combine data from member countries and trusted private sector partners, some of them in this room today, to identify cybercriminal infrastructure, detect emerging threats, and support ongoing investigations and operations. Second, we strengthen the capabilities of national law enforcement agencies. This includes training programs, operational support, and tabletop exercises designed to help investigators respond to emerging cyber threats. But we do more. It also includes efforts to strengthen the broader international framework for cooperation, including through Interpol's contributions to the new United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime. And third, and at the operational core of our mandate, we coordinate cross-border operations to identify and apprehend cybercriminals, disrupt the malicious infrastructure that they rely on, support victims across the globe, and recover criminal proceeds. Together, these 3 lines of effort, intelligence sharing, capacity building, and coordinated operations, define Interpol's response to cybercrime. We could not do it, and we've heard it multiple times, and probably every speaker here before me, about public-private partnerships. A critical enabler of the work that we do is dependent on a Gateway initiative. It is Interpol's public-private partnership framework on cybercrime. Through Gateway, we bring together cybersecurity companies, financial institutions, threat intel providers, and technology partners to transform private sector insight into operational action. I guarantee that without the intelligence that the private sector provides, our operations would not be nearly as successful. Much of the infrastructure used by cyber criminals is first detected by the industry. Gateway allows that intelligence to be shared in a structured way, analyzed through Interpol's global channels, and converted into actionable leads from member countries. This intelligence allows us to coordinate a faster, more targeted, and more effective international response. Recent additions to Gateway, including S2W and MasterCard, have further expanded the intelligence and expertise available to support our member countries. So the value of the model is measured really in operational results. In 2025, we conducted more than 10. Through Gateway and our wider network of trusted partners, private sector intelligence has directly supported a number of Interpol operations, including our latest global operation, Operation Synergia 3, where we had strong participation from European member countries. In this coordinated international disruption, 18 of the 72 participating countries were European. Globally, the operation resulted in the takedown of more than 45,000 servers and domains and the arrest of 94 suspects. These results demonstrate a critical point. Cross-border disruption works best when law enforcement action is informed by trusted intelligence, supported by strong partnerships, and coordinated across regions. Europe is central to that effort. So to deepen this engagement with Europe, we have also established a dedicated Europe working group on cybercrime for heads of units. This working group is designed to strengthen regional dialogue, improve alignment with global operational activity, and ensure that cooperation is shaped by the priorities and practical needs of our member countries. In November of last year, we held our first in-person meeting at Interpol's General Secretariat just down the road in Lyon. This marked an important milestone in our engagement with the region. We brought together more than 35 participants from 19 countries, as well as Europol, private sector partners, and the World Economic Forum. The next edition will take place later this year in Ireland, and we are working to broaden further participation, including prosecutors, CERTs, and additional regional and international organizations. Our cooperation with Europol has also deepened significantly. Over the past year, our engagement with Europol's European Cybercrime Center, EC3, has become more regular and more operationally focused. My cybercrime directorate is involved in 2 impact priorities conducted by Europol: cyber attacks and online fraud schemes. This has already created opportunities for collaboration, including Operation Nebula, which is targeting a phishing as a service group, as well as sustained analytical cooperation on ransomware investigations, including with the German law enforcement authorities. So beyond this, our engagement with European partners extends beyond operations. One example is our partnership with Intercop, the International Cyber Offender Program Prevention Network, established with support from the European Commission and led by the Netherlands. This initiative reflects a growing recognition that prevention must complement investigation and enforcement. Interpol has co-hosted both the 3rd and 5th edition of the Interpol conference at our General Secretariat in Lyon. Another key initiative that I want to highlight is our Cybercrime Expert Group, or CyberX. We now bring together more than 180 experts from law enforcement agencies and private partners from around the world, including 34 from the European region. This group held its first in-person meeting in Lyon last year, and this year we held our second in Hong Kong under the title Disrupting the Industrialization of Cybercrime, where the head of the Cyber Intelligence Unit of the Anti-Cyber Crime Office of the French National Police provided a presentation. These forums are important because they help ensure that our member countries remain connected, informed, and better prepared as the threat landscape evolves. So going forward, Interpol is always adapting the ways that we organize our response. Traditionally, many of our cybercrime operations have been coordinated along regional lines. That remains important. But based on feedback from our member countries, including through our relaunched CyberX group, we're increasingly complementing that model with a more threat-driven approach. Let me briefly highlight 2 of those initiatives. Project Stardust focuses on the industrialization of cybercrime by targeting the underlying infrastructure and criminal services that enable offenders to operate at scale. This includes bulletproof hosting, residential proxy networks, and phishing-as-a-service platforms. This challenge is increasingly recognized at the national strategic level. France's 2026 to 2030 National Cybersecurity Strategy states that a constant pressure of cyber threats is manifested through the rise of a cybercrime market and the proliferation of cyber-intrusive tools. Project Echo, highlighted there on the right, addresses another deeply concerning trend: the rise in online image-based sexual abuse and the growing use of AI to generate non-consensual, intimate imagery. Recent research suggests that 1 in 13 European youth have encountered sextortion online. This is a fast-evolving threat that requires stronger international cooperation, better intelligence exchange, more strategic risk analysis, and enhanced capabilities for prevention, investigation, and victim response. These projects reflect a more focused and threat-based model of engagement, one that allows us to bring together countries facing similar criminal ecosystems regardless of geography. So to conclude, the cybercrime landscape is becoming more industrialized, more automated, and more transnational. No country, no organization, not even Interpol, can address this challenge alone. Our response must be equally connected across borders, across sectors, and across disciplines. That is why partnerships matter so much. Partnerships between law enforcement agencies, between regional and global institutions, and between the public and private sector. Europe is a critical partner in this effort, and our cooperation with European member countries and institutions continues to grow in both depth and in ambition. At Interpol, we remain committed to ensuring that law enforcement has the tools, the partnerships, and operational frameworks needed to keep pace with these evolving cyber threats and to act against them collectively. Thank you.